Let's talk about the pituitary gland today. So, pituitary gland, where it is present, the pituitary gland connected to the hypothalamus, isn't it? Pituitary gland is connected to the ventral side of the diencephalon hypothalamus with the help of stalk or infundibulum. This is the pituitary gland, how it is connected with the help of infundibulum. Infundibulum and the pituitary gland. These two, infundibulum plus pituitary gland, is to be collectively called as pituitary body. Infundibulum and pituitary gland are collectively called as pituitary body. A pituitary body. Then, if how does the hypothalamus connected to the pituitary gland means will come through this. That is infundibulum. Okay, so that is the story of pituitary gland, their connection with infundibulum, and the question raises here, and the question raises that how does the why we say pituitary gland as adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. The reason to say there are two portions in the pituitary gland, adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis, that we have to see first of all. That this is based on, this kind of classification of the pituitary gland is based on embryonic origin. That means the part of the pituitary gland originated from the roof of buccal cavity is called adenohypophysis during embryonic development. That means during when we are in the mother uterus, that when we are in gestation during embryonic development, so that part of the pituitary gland which is developed from the roof of buccal cavity is called as roof of buccal cavity is called as adenohypophysis. The name adenohypophysis because it is formed by the evagination of the roof of the buccal cavity. Next, the neurohypophysis. The why the name neurohypophysis? So simple. It is by the evagination of hypothalamic neuron. The hypothalamic neurons itself evaginated and form this particular neurohypophysis. The evagination of outpouchings of the hypothalamus, ventral diencephalon, nothing but hypothalamus. So that form neurohypophysis. So that means the little part of the pituitary gland is formed from a roof of buccal cavity, that we called it as adenohypophysis, and little part is from the nervous system itself, hypothalamus. We say that as neurohypophysis. The ultimately pituitary gland is called as hypophysis. Hypophysis because of their location, because that is on the ventral side of the brain, ventral side of the diencephalon of the brain. That's why it is called as hypophysis. Adenohypophysis, neurohypophysis. That we are completed. Why to say adenohypophysis? Why to say neurohypophysis? Okay. Next, that structural division of this particular adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis that we need to go. Adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Structural differentiation. There are many lobes in the pituitary gland. Many lobes. Pituitary gland is in the form of lobes. So let us write the lobes of pituitary gland. That pars anterior, pars anterior, pars tuberalis, pars anterior, pars tuberalis, pars intermedia, and pars nervosa. This information will be less useful for us, but just making anatomical difference and embryonic difference, classification of embryonic difference and anatomical difference. This is based on the embryonic origin. Now, after this, you can see that adenohypophysis is having the lobes called pars anterior, pars tuberalis, pars intermedia, and pars nervosa. It is believed to be the pars anterior intermedia of human being almost degenerated and it was fused. So that fused with the pars anterior. It was fused with the pars anterior. It is believed to be. So from here only we'll find that MSH, melanophore stimulating hormone, pars intermediate. Okay. So we'll discuss, but just anatomy we are going. Anatomy, the pituitary gland, anatomy of pituitary gland. Okay. Next, the finally, that adenohypophysis with their lobes, adenohypophysis with their lobes. So let's talk about, think writing is not good. Let's make it, let's write this adenohypophysis. Yeah. With their hormones and their lobes that we need to discuss with their hormones and their lobes. So if you leave the tuberalis, we are talking about pars and that anterior. Pars anterior is going to secrete anterior lobe. We say it as pars anterior or anterior lobe. We can say this anterior lobe is going to secrete our said hormones. What are they? That TSH, thyrotropic stimulating hormone, GH or STH, the growth hormone or somatotropic hormone, adrenocorticotropic hormone, and GTH like FSH and LH, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. Then luteotropic hormone, that all they are going to secrete it from here itself. And we have one more, that is MSH. Actually, when we ask MSH, we need to say intermediate lobe. But most of the cells of the intermediate lobe, lobe is almost degenerated. The cells of the intermediate lobe is fused almost with the anterior lobe. That's why you can't see specific intermediate lobe is there. So, but when it is asked over, you need to say cells of the intermediate lobe. Okay. So next, neurohypophysis. What do you say? Pars nervosa. Nothing it secretes. Because we already said hypothalamic neurons secrete oxytocin and vasopressin. Neurons of the hypothalamus is going to secrete the oxytocin and vasopressin that will come and store here. Oxytocin and vasopressin. Vasopressin, which is also called ADH. Okay. Vasopressin, who is also called ADH. Before to see the function of all these, let me learn one more thing. Let me show you how the protection to this pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is protected by a small concavity or depression we'll find in the skull that we say sella turcica. Sella turcica is going to protect the pituitary gland, which include adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. Now, let us see the functions of all these glands, one after another. One after another, the functions will go. Simple to say, growth hormone or somatotropic hormone. It's there in the name, growth hormone. What is the function of the growth hormone? Going to make the division of the cells and stimulate the division of the cells as stimulate the protein synthesis and makes the elongation of the bone. Simply we say that is responsible for the growth of the body. GH, growth hormone, responsible for the growth of the body. Next, let's take one after another. Thyrotropic stimulating hormone. What do you say? That stimulate the thyroid gland for the secretion of thyroxine. Okay, ACTH, adrenocorticotropic hormone, stimulate the adrenal cortex, stimulate the adrenal cortex, and for the secretion of that hormones of the adrenal cortex, cortisol, aldosterone, sex corticoids, that all hormones can be from here, ACTH. Next, GTH, which include two, which is the most confusing portion. We have to discuss this back again in the reproductive system also. Now I am closing simply. FSH makes the follicle formation, Graafian follicle formation, which leads to the production of a hormone called estrogen. Then ovulation is possible by luteinizing hormone, which leads to the formation of corpus luteum, and which stimulate the secretion of a hormone called progesterone. We stimulate the secretion of hormone said to be progesterone. Okay, so that's it, progesterone. So now at least you simply remember that there are estrogen and progesterone releasing from the gonadotropic hormones like FSH and LH are responsible for the secretion of estrogen and progesterone. Details we'll discuss in the coming days. Next, some more hormones are there. Luteotropic hormone, also called prolactin. It's there in the name, luteotropic hormone or prolactin, for the production of milk. That in the gestation, during when the baby is in the mother uterus, so that production of milk. After immediately after the parturition, that newborn with need to fed with milk, so that hormone helpful for in that case. Next, this is all about adenohypophysis, and let's talk about the MSH, which the intermediate cells of the intermediate lobe going to secrete a hormone called MSH, melanophore stimulating hormone. It's there in the name, melanophore stimulating hormone. This melanophore stimulating hormone responsible for the skin pigmentation, and this is antagonistic to the hormone called melatonin, the hormone which is released from the pineal gland, melatonin. So that is antagonistic to the melatonin, that you need to understand. Okay. Next, finally, the hormones of the neurohypophysis. Neurohypophysis. Talking about that two hormones we have, oxytocin. Actually, they are not releasing. They are going to store. Who release? Hypothalamus is going to release this particular hormone. Neurons of the hypothalamus. So this oxytocin for the contraction of uterine muscles after parturition. Gestation is 9 months, isn't it? The baby embryo grows in the mother for 9 months. After that, the baby should come out. The contraction of the uterine muscles is possible by this hormone, oxytocin. Okay. Next, vasopressin from the neurohypophysis. That one more hormone, that is vasopressin. Neurohypophysis is going to store one more hormone, ADH, anti-diuretic hormone, or vasopressin. This story already we learned in case of nephron. If you remember, we said this kind of absorption under the influence of this hormone, we said it has facultative water reabsorption. If ADH present, absorption is possible. If not, no absorption. In that way, facultative water reabsorption. The primary function of each and every hormone of the pituitary gland and anatomy of the pituitary gland. We are seeing here, pituitary gland, exclusive show of pituitary gland. And along with that, we need to go the disorders related to the pituitary gland even based on the function. Let's start from here. Imagine if there is no ADH, ADH is not releasing. So nearly 19 to 20% of water which is happened absorbed by this particular hormone cannot be absorbed over. So let's take our calculations. Out of the total fluid reached here in the 100%, we generally absorb 99%, isn't it? In that ADH role is some, let's make it 19% or 20% they absorb. So 1% only we are going to eliminate in the form of urine. Okay, so long days it was excretory system. So that's why I am giving one example here. I'll make you to remember. 180 liters, the glomerular filtrate. In that we absorb 99 liters, 99%. And we eliminate 1% in the form of urine, isn't it? 1% is going in the form of urine. 1% means nearly 1.8 liter. Okay, so 99% is absorbed. So what is our ADH will do here? ADH nearly 15 to 20% they participate. Okay, imagine it is 20%. ADH influence is 20%. Okay, so the 20% of 180 liters, imagine. So not happening, that hypothetically I am saying here, 36 liters of urine. That means intensity differences will be seen over in the person to person. But maximum I am talking about. Maximum 36 liter instead of 1.8 to 2 liter. Exact calculations, these are not exact calculation. Person to person it will differ, and season to season it differs. Elimination of the urine. But nearly 1 to 2 liters to 2.5 liters. But you see here absence of ADH, which influences the distal convoluted tubule for the absorption of water. If ADH absence leads to excess urination, no need to remember this calculation 36 liters, excess urination, you just remember it. Instead of normal urine, that more urination is possible here, that we have a specific name for this disease. We have a specific name. The disease is called as, so what do you call the ADH always, vasopressin or ADH? Antidiuretic hormone, isn't it? Okay, so what is diuresis? Excess urination. Okay, so the disease is diabetes insipidus. Don't be confused with the famous disease diabetes mellitus. That is by insulin. This is by ADH. Deficiency of ADH leads to deficiency of ADH, antidiuretic hormone, leads to excess urination. What do you say it as? Diabetes insipidus. Okay. Next, we say the growth hormones. When we go back, we are seeing the growth hormones. The growth hormone which is released here from cross anterior lobe. What we said, the growth hormone responsible for the growth of the human being. Generally, in case of human being, the growth is up to a certain age, 18 to 20 years. Okay, 18 to 20 years. Then imagine below age, that means in children, if the growth hormone levels are increased, so what can be expected here in children? The levels of the growth hormone, hypersecretion I am talking about. Hypersecretion of growth hormone in children. What can be expected? Pituitary gigantism, we can say. Pituitary gigantism. So what do you say it as? Pituitary gigantism. Okay, so just a hypothetical issue I'm doing here. That means I'm not going to say I'm an artist. I drawn the diagram well. So pituitary gigantism. Then what about hyposecretion of the growth hormone in children? Hyposecretion of the growth hormone in children. So that can be said pituitary dwarfism. Okay, pituitary dwarfism. Hyposecretion leads to pituitary dwarfism. Okay, so that things in this is in case of children. In case of the children, so let me talk about this. Two diseases we are talking about. One is pituitary gigantism. Let me write here. Space is not sufficient. So I am going to write pituitary dwarfism. Okay, so that's it. Then in case of children, okay. But what happens in adult? In adult, if hyposecretion, what can be expected with hyposecretion? Nothing can be expected because already person is grown. So hyposecretion of the growth hormone, not much effect, isn't it? Hyposecretion of growth hormone. But in case of adult, if hypersecretion occurs, in case of adult, if hypersecretion occurs, in the bone, epiphyseal plate used to be present here in this case, we learned in first year. Epiphyseal plate, metaphysis we used to say. So that length of the metaphysis will be declared by the genes, and our growth hormone is stimulating that only for the elongation of the bone. So that particular elongation of the bone only makes the growth of the human being, isn't it? But once, as I said to you, 18 to 20 is the age after that, there is no growth. So why? Because epiphyseal plate will be closed at the time. There is no growth. Epiphyseal plate is not seen in the people who are with fully grown people don't have this epiphyseal plate. So what is seen there? There you can see epiphyseal line. There is no growth. Then now in the adult, growth hormone levels are increased. Then what happens? The improper growth. Here it cannot grow like this normal growth. So improper growth can be formed here. So this improper growth is going to create the problems here. This improper growth is going to create the problems.
Sir, your audio is in mute, sir.
Unmute చేసినట్టున్నాను కదా. Okay, okay. So let me close this. Let me close this. We are talking about the diseases. We are talking about the diseases. The pituitary gigantism, pituitary dwarfism. So what is pituitary gigantism? Hypersecretion of the growth hormone in children. Then pituitary dwarfism, the hyposecretion of the growth hormone in children. Acromegaly, acromegaly, hypersecretion of the growth hormone in hypersecretion of the growth hormone in adult. Diabetes insipidus, diabetes insipidus is the hype that ADH, the deficiency of ADH, hyposecretion of the ADH. We're going to see the disorders in the end at a time, but these are all the disorders which are related to the pituitary gland. Along with the functioning, I'll go with the disorders also. Then this is all about pituitary gland. Okay. So then we'll discuss with the more other glands in the coming classes.